Hi everyone, Tanya with Riley & Company here. Welcome to another video in the Coloring with Tanya video series. Today we are going to color one of our newest dress up sets. It's called Secret Agents. I think you're going to like it. This new set is so much fun. It is called Secret Agent. It's a little play on one of our favorite secret agents of all time, James Bond. It has a little suit and some hair and some casino stuff and cocktail hour and even a little teeny tiny martini, which wouldn't really be bad right now, a little teeny tiny one. And of course it comes with, or it doesn't come with, but you can also purchase the dies to match it. And look at this set. Isn't it fabulous? Yay, look at all that much fun. So let's get started. Now, let's go ahead. You will not see much of this when we're done, but it does give it a nice alcohol base for my colors to work with. So we're just going to go along the outside of it, and we're just going to color it all in. Okay, and with the edges of the sleeves. His shirt has some gray in it, but we're going to do it later. Now for the hat, this is where we will actually see some of the grays in the end. Do a little bit of that. And I'm going to do just the low or the first coat of the Aston Martini. Going to grab a C3 and add our next layer of gray to our pants. Now the only light area that we're going to have is just right in here. It's very light. So this is going to come back under and get most of it. Except just a little teeny bit. So I'm going to give a little on his hat. And then I'm going to leave just a little bit of the original gray right there. Just like that. Now if I take my C1 and I come back over this really light space, it's going to blend it for me. And the same with this. It'll keep it light, but it'll make it look much more blended. I am going to take my colors and put them along the side so that I have a little menu of what I've used. For the next time, if I want to color it again. Otherwise, here's the biggest tip that you will get, I think. That's what everybody says anyway. Once we're done coloring this and we spend all the time to color it, we're going to put it in a binder that I keep with all of my originals, and then when I want to make something with this set, instead of having to recolor what I want, I'm just going to color copy and use my dies. Saves tons of time, and then you have a really gorgeous book of all originals too. So this was the second color, which is my C3. Now we're going to bring in C5, and this is where you're really going to get to start seeing your shading. So I'm going to just do it underneath it, just add the color underneath the jacket, just like I did before. But this time, I'm going to bring it up just about 3/4 of the pants. Then I'm going to bring this, and I'm not going to bring it over as far as I did my C3. Bring that over. It's kind of in the middle. This, I'm definitely going to bring it in the back and along the sides. And then down in this little part right there. Now, you can definitely see that line there, and it really does kind of look like he had a little accident. We don't want that. So we're going to go back with our C3, and we're just going to come in And we're going to make little circles along that edge so that it looks like it's shading, but it doesn't look like he, had a wee little accident. We're going to bring this in with the C3 and blend it better, and the same with that. And that was our C5. Now here's another tip for you. You can use the same marker again, so we shaded in with the C5, or we colored in with the C5 before, but you can use this exact same marker again to create a deeper shade. Fun, huh? Watch this. See that? I have C5, but then I put it on top of C5 and it gives me another shade down, which is exactly what I'm going to do over here on this side. And underneath the suit jacket and along that side. Now, I want the shirt to be a little darker gray. So this is going to be a very light touch along the front of his shirt. To color in just the front where the buttons are. You know those light gray and dark gray pinstripe shirts? That's what this is going to be. Then I'm going to ever so lightly, I cannot even feel my marker touch the paper. I can see it, but I can't feel it. And we're going to do that. And I want to shade this, so I'm just going to bring it up a little bit. And then just down here, I'm going to come back in, do that. I'm going to give it another little coat on the outside. And I do believe we're going to bring some colors out in our Aston Martini sign. Now that is our C5. Let's see, I want to go back with my C3 up here on my sleeves. Blend that color right in there. I am now going to grab a C6, which is just a tiny bit darker than my C5. Not really much, but a bit. If you don't have all these colors at home, that's okay too. You can skip from the C1 to the C3 to a C6. If you don't have the C5, use the C6, or vice versa. All I'm going to do is bring in some more shading along the outside and the back, and a little bit more underneath here, and a tad bit more back in his hat. I love using grays to make things appear black. Your eye is going to think it's a black hat and not a gray hat, but it's really not going to be using black. Black is so harsh. So there's our C6, and finally we're going to pull in a C8. Now this is a very, very dark color. This is almost as close to black as you can get. There's a couple, I think there's a C9, there might be a C10, I'm not sure. This is very, very dark without being really, really harsh. So we're going to use this very sparingly. We're going to come in on his pocket. And there, I am going to come in along the outside edges, like that. And I'm maybe going to bring a little down the front line there, and in the creases. I'm going to leave the buttons white. I'm going to come back in here just along the outside, or the inside edge, I'm sorry, of the hat. Very, very sparingly. That is our C8. Now, just barely, I'm going to touch it underneath this sign, just so that my Aston Martini words pop off a little bit. And I'm going to come back in with one of my lower colors. I believe I'm going to grab a C3 because it won't add any color, but I want it to blend my hat back out. So I'm just going to do circles. And when you do circles, circles lay alcohol on top of alcohol in a line like that, right? So that blends a whole lot better than that does. Can you guys see that? Another little tip for you. Circles is always a good thing. I want this to blend a little better in here. And a little in there. Gorgeous. Now, I made a couple little mistakes. I don't know if you can see them or not. I'll try to get this up here and show you. Can you see that right there? I went out of the lines just a tad, which really is not that big a deal if you're going to go ahead and use your dies. However, I get a little fussy about it, so I'm going to show you what I call a magic eraser, which is actually what Copic calls a colorless blender. Colorless blenders look like this. It's a Copic 0. And it's a clear liquid. There's no color in it at all. But if you use it and you pretend you're pushing your ink back up where it belongs, get back in there. Get in there. It takes the color and pushes it right back where it belongs. Isn't that amazing? It's like a magic eraser. I love it. That's why I call it a magic eraser. Now you can get these on our website, RileyandCompanyOnline.com. I have another little one right here. Now you want to do this with a very light touch because it will also take color out. It's like, if you can take that color out, it's going to take it out of here if you get it up in there too. So it's a blending tool, but it will also fix your mistakes. Love it. So there is my C0. And this little bad boy was my C8. So now we have this. All we have to do is, let's do his red vest. And we'll do her dress as well. Now I didn't go traditional red on this. I did a little bit of a burgundy. So I used R39 to start with. It's a nice, yummy, little, real rich red color, you know, because the Dress Up characters, they need a rich James Bond color to wear. I'm going to use those circles again, and I am going ever so slightly around that edge and around the top. And I'm just outlining everything. Then I'm going to come in and do my circles and make sure it's all nice and blended. Oh, we need to do his little hat while I'm in this vicinity. I like to color all of my images at once. I have to stamp them and color them all at once. I don't know why, just always what I've done. I can kind of set the scene if I do it all at once. I'll turn this over. Now I turn these upside down so that I don't run my hand back over what I've already colored, and it makes it easier if I take a certain angle than if I have it right side up sometimes. So that's why I do that. Now we'll turn her back around and let's go work on this girl, because this dress is amazing. Now for those of you that don't know, the Dress Up series has a bunch of little basic animals, and then we have 30 to 40 to 50-ish accessory sets to use with them. So think paper dolls, only with a really cute moose and a really cute cow and a really cute possum and a really cute little bunny and that kind of stuff. And you can dress them up in all different kinds of clothing and accessories. So this is a little dress. And the more accessories you get, the more you can combine them. It's a lot of fun to combine them in a different way, you know. Like use a dress from one set and shoes from another set. Okay, now our top is done. And I do believe I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do this little bow too. Now for the bottom of her dress, I'm just going to give it all the first coats, and then we will start working on the shading. And if you guys like this video, please make sure that you hit the little thumbs up button, you know, and subscribe to our channel. I'm trying to come out with these, you know, more and more. We're going to get all the Mushroom Lane and all of the dress ups colored so people can come in and see how I do them, because it's really quite simple. And I don't know about you, but I work better when I have something to look at. Now I've done the outline, we're just going to come back in. Okay. We have one more little one up here to do. His little bow tie. Now that is our first layer, and that was R39. Now let's grab an R69, and that's just a little more of a maroony color, so we're going to just do some basic shading with that. Just a little deeper, not a whole lot. Now when you go to shade something, in order to find out where you need to put the extra color, you have to imagine your light source, where your light source is coming from. Okay, so at this point his light source is going to be pretty much from the top of where he's standing. So the outside of his belly would probably have a little bit of light. The top of his sleeves would probably have a little bit, but anything back behind him or down under his belly would probably be shaded, and anything behind this lapel would be shaded. And especially under his arms would be shaded. Can you see that? We're getting there, aren't we? On his hat band, we're just going to bring some in just like we did before. And on the little bow, just bring a little in. It's so small that trying to do all the colors on something this small is just kind of a waste, I guess, of time. It's really not if you like coloring. Nothing's a waste of time, but you really won't see it. So that's an RV69. It's a little more of a purpley than the red is, hence the violet, red violet 69. Now I'm going to come back in with, let's see, this is my R89. So using the RV69 just gave me a little bit more purple. Just threw a little bit of purple into the mix to kind of make it a burgundy. If you would like to leave it the garnet colors, leave it the garnet colors. You don't have to use that. These are just suggested colors. Okay, now I'm going to take my R89. This is pretty much done. It's not a whole lot different. This is not. So I'm going to leave this alone, and I'm going to use this, and I am just going to come back up underneath here. And I want her dress to stay the burgundies. Now, The most of the light's going to be coming down, so this part down here is going to be the lightest. So we're going to kind of leave that as it stands, and behind her sleeves, when her arms out, and a little bit here in the corners. That's all. This dress is very simple to do. And I'm going to use the same color one more time, and I'm just going to bring it out. Now, this stamp has its own lines where the, can you guys see that? Hope you can see that. Where the lines are, okay? I'm just going to use my pen, and I'm just going to trace over those lines just to make them a little bit deeper. Now, I'm also going to take the same pen and pretend that I am behind that fold. So I'm going to bring a little in behind this fold, and a little in behind that fold, and a little in behind that fold, and that one, and that one. And the same on her dress up here. And that will definitely give you some more depth that you're looking for. Now finally, we have to have that like super dark color, right, that we use oh so sparingly. And this is going to be my RV99. This is actually an Argyle purple. It is very, very dark. You can tell that I don't use it much because of, you know, how pointed my little tip is. But it will give us the nice deep purple that we're looking for to make things really, really stand out. So we are going to use this. Try to imagine we're going behind those pleats, okay? I am barely touching the paper, barely. Do one right there and there. I'm going to barely, barely, barely go up underneath this little band in her dress. I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to go behind the band on the other side, but with the tiniest line that I can possibly make. Because all I'm trying to do is to get the band to stand out, not create a color. I'm going to go a little bit in here to make her arms stand out a little more. And now back up with his jacket. I am going to ever so slightly go underneath this lapel, and then I'm going to turn it around and go underneath this lapel. And I'm going to come in, and this is the one that I'm going to highlight the bows with. And just a teeny tiny little bit of color. Back. And we're done with our burgundies. How much fun is that? Burgundies, garnet colors, whatever you want to call them. Okie dokie. Now let's finish off his shirt, which is going to be a super simple C5. I'm just going to come in. So how I decided the colors on this is I imagined a gray and white striped shirt with a white collar, and then I put his lapels on top of that. Now let's see, for her little skirt, I'm going to go back with my C1, my very lightest gray. Now I want this to look white, but I also want shadows in it, so that's what you use your grays for. I'm not going to color it gray. I'm just going to put gray where the shadows in the folds would be, and then it's going to make it appear like it's a little white base. And I do believe that we've got it. Now her bag is also going to be a C5. So we're just going to finish her gorgeous little bag up here. I've decided it's a little Birkin. That's what I've decided it is. And the little strap, do this little careful strokes. I do just little baby ones at a time. I cannot even feel my pen touching the paper. And we are done. Now his shoes, about doing these in browns, but it'd look kind of silly with this outfit, so we decided that we're going to make them gray, but only parts of them. So the little inset here is going to be the darker gray. We're going to use the C6, I believe, to do the soles. And I'm going to bring in my C1, my little trusty C1, just to do the shadows on the whites. Okay, just a little shadow there, a shadow there, and underneath on the front whites. Yay, look at those cute little shoes. Yeah. Now, I'm also going to do the same thing with the dice. I am going to just put a little gray underneath where these shadows would be, so they still appear white. I am also going to do the same thing with my cards because they're all going to be white. So all I'm going to do is use my C1 right in the corner, and then back behind on each one, not the top, but just back behind, so they still all look white, but we know they're not. Now let's move along and do this guy. He's fun. I'm going to start with my Y18 and put all these little guys back. I'm going to start with my very favorite yellow, Y18, and this is going to go super fast. So we're going to come up here, we're going to color this in. We're going to do this up here. And you can color this any color you choose. If you have a favorite slot machine and you go to the casino all the time, do it that color. These are little bells. We're going to pretend they're gold. This is a little lemon. Now I also have, it could be a lime, but this is going to be like a little appletini. So I'm going to put a little lemon there. And this poker chip, I'm going to do the outside of it in yellow. So I am just going over all of it. Now when you do this and you stamp, you want to make sure, especially doing this, this is a great place for me to tell you, that if you stamp on black, when you use Copics or alcohol markers of any kind, you need to make sure that you have the right black ink. If you don't, you're going to get a smear. Okay, that makes sense, right? Now, the correct black ink is a dye-based ink. These are alcohol-based markers, so you want a dye-based ink. I use Memento almost religiously just because A, I know it works. You can try other brands. There's a couple other ones that work, but I love Memento. It gives me a nice crisp edge, and it works very, very well. It never smears on me. Also, you want to make sure that the paper that you use is correct. The paper is very important because you want something that's very, very smooth. If it's a very coarse, very rough paper, the fibers in it is going to let your marker ink travel. You don't want that. You want something that's very, very smooth. Now, we use Mohawk Super Smooth. It's an 80 pounds. Now, you can find the paper and the ink on our website at RileyandCompanyOnline.com if you wish. Also, I know a lot of people use Neenah paper. This is the less expensive version of the Neenah paper, so that's why I use it. So next we are going to grab our Y38, and I'm going to shade with it. So I'm going to put a little bit under here, just a shade. I'm going to, and when I do this, I'm keeping my hand, I'm not touching my paper when I do this, just so you guys know that. I'm going to bring it up from the bottom, and in from there, just to shade a little bit. I do not think I missed any. I think I'm going to make some of these yellow too, my little poker chips. Just those two. Yeah. Okay, now I'm also going to shadow this, shade it, shadow, give it a shadow by shading. And that's only just this outside bit. There we have it. And those colors were Y18 and Y38. The next color I am going to grab is a green, one of my favorite colors, YG05. I'm going to make the inside of this poker chip that color. So I am just going to go around the edge, do some circles. I'm going to make the gems on her dress emeralds. Isn't that pretty? I am going to turn this sideways, a little bit upside down, and we are going to bring that color in and that color in. Now I'm going to bring this green all the way down the front. I'm going to use it as my second shading. This one's really good for that. Bring a little bit more color in there and up there. Now the cherries need green leaves, right? And I don't know what this is. It's a poker chip, but it's going to be green. And some little green leaves there. Oh, and our martini. This is a crayantini. Crayon. All right. That is YG05. So now I'm just going to grab a little darker green, a YG09, and I'm going to do some shading just along the bottom half here, but I'm going to come back with my original green and do my circles so that it looks like a really nice blend. We're going to do a little of this green here and up here, along there, maybe along there. Definitely in the bottom of my martini glass. Now along the outsides here of my jewels, the next up color, let's do a little bit of red, because you know all jukeboxes have red, and it's probably up here because you know they're red, white, and blue. So we're going to take an R49, which is more of a truer red, not a burgundy, and just go over that. And again, if you don't have R46, use any red that you have, any nice bright red that you have. I'm going to grab a blue and do the stars. And of course the sevens are red, white, and blue if you've ever been to a casino. So I'm going to do one of them blue. I'm going to come back and grab my red and do one of them red. And then one of them will be white. Oh, cherries need to be red too. Yeah. There we go. Now that's B05. So you can make this any color you want, of course, but I'm going to do this little top up here. I'm going to make it my bright green to kind of match this poker chip. And then I'm going to come back with my blue and go around the outside edge of the poker chip. And then I'm going to pull in a really fun orange. The orange, whoops, the orange I'm going to use for this edge. I'm going to pretend these are bubblers. So I'm going to bring just a little bit of that color up in those. So they're going to be shooting out all kinds of colors. Then I'm going to turn this around and be very careful. Yeah. Let's do that one more time. Get a little darker color in there. And I think I'm going to take these poker chips. I'm going to make all those orange. Now, let's head back to our grays. Wait, we've got a green and a blue one we need to have here. Green and my blue. Now for this sign right here, we're going to come back and do the hair in a minute. That's all we've got left is this sign and this piece. So this is the only bright colors we have left, and I'm going to show you how to do this. We're actually going to shade this as well, even though the background's black. So watch this. It's super, super easy. We're going to do it all, right? Even where the black is. Okay. Yeah. Then we're going to come in with our darker green, and we're just going to like flick little pieces up there just on the bottom. And then our final is we're going to use our marker again and do a little bit darker. We're going to go just along this edge. Isn't that fun? So now we've got a bright green sign. That's actually a black sign. So we're going to grab our grays one more time. I'm going to start with my C1, and I'm going to give this whole thing a nice healthy base of gray. Not the only thing we're not going to are the plain wheels. So we're going to do this in a gray, all of that, come back here in a gray. This is just going to be our base color. This is a whole lot easier than it looks, really. Then I'm also going to take this and pull in some gray up here as well. So it looks like, you know, that stainless steel chrome that they have going on. With his hair, I'm not going to bother with the hair because I want it darker than my C1's going to give me. So next I'm going to use my C3. And I'm going to bring in just a little more color along this edge. And I'm going to bring in some more color underneath along that edge. Definitely under the little vents. And just along the side here. Just so it starts looking like it's a little shadowed underneath. I'm going to leave this inset panel, and I'm going to leave the little money slot or whatever that is there. I don't know what it is. It can be whatever you want it to be. I'm going to leave that all the light color. Yay, I'm going to use that same color again, just underneath here. Now, that was my C3, so let's grab our let's do a C6. We're going to skip the C5 this time. We're going to go straight to the 6. And the reason is because this one has a nice pointy tip. Now, the tips on Copic markers can be refilled or changed out. Just want you to know that. And these markers are actually refillable as well. It's one of the reasons that I use them religiously. I've got almost all the alcohol markers that are out there, and I still go back to my Copics every single time because I know if they go dry I can refill them. Now I'm going to come back with some color just along the inside there, just along here, because those are normally black. And just along that little inside there. Yeah. Now with the same marker and the nice tip, I'm going to just do little bitty lines from the outside in under each one of these lines and pretend that they're vents. Alrighty. And finally, we're going to use the dark RC8, sparingly, of course, right? But I am going to just use it on this back panel. And I'm just going to use it right there. Now I'm just going to finish this up by doing this and adding just another little line here. And we are, oh, nope, we've got to do his hair. And I want him to have dark, dark hair. So let's just do all of this. It's got the lines we're going to come back through. And there we go. Okay, the last thing that we have to do to add is we're going to bring out my favorite jelly roll, medium white. I love it, I love it, I love it. I have so many of these laying around because they give great, great highlights. So I'm just going to do little highlights there on his collar. And a couple up there, definitely on his hair. And one on the hats and along the brim. Sometimes I put dots behind it. And definitely I'm going to bring some down here on her skirts. And I'm going to do a little right there. And let's see. Where can we do these at? I'm going to do little dots around here to make that look like it's lace with my little white pin. Isn't that gorgeous? Same on the side. And I'm going to give a couple dots. And your white pen can also help you fill in little teeny tiny mistakes if you don't have a magic eraser. And I do believe we have it. No, sorry, one more thing. I'm going to add some lines here on my Aston Martini sign. And we are finished. So this is RCLR59. It is our special agent set. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you soon on the next one. Take care.